Good evening, witches.
Hey, witches. Midsummer blessings to you.
We start in just a few minutes. Welcome.
See you soon.
Stands.
So, and I want to leave lots of room for questions for you guys because I think celebrations are a lot harder for solitary witches because we're alone doing stuff and you're like, who do I ask if this is right? Like, where do I go for, like, can I do it this way? Is this okay? And so any ideas or things that you want to know about, been doing this holiday a long time. It's one of my faves.
So she picked this holiday to get married on.
Of course I did, yes. And I have correlations for that for all of June. So you guys know that, especially with this holiday, all of the symbolism and the correspondences that go around it. And it's just very easy to see why this would be June is the month for marriage. So, oh, okay.
I think one of the most, somebody asked me recently, like, how do you say Litha? I say Litha.
I say Litha.
Litha. There's different pronunciations for it, but one that's really simple is Midsummer.
Midsummer.
Midsummer is also a good name or an accurate name, or
it's a common name. It's the most common name throughout all of the cultures in which this holiday was brought together.
Midsummer.
So, yeah.
Or summer solstice.
Well, that's the actual thing that's happening and why we're celebrating.
Oh, okay.
Right. So saying you're celebrating the summer solstice is 100% accurate, no matter who you're talking to, under any religion, because that's an event like full moon or new moon. You can't deny it. It's not religious. It's happening in the sky.
Oh my gosh. I just found something. In fact, let me put a little plug in for our last meetup of the summer.
Oh, yes.
Our last meetup until after Labor Day is going to be next weekend, and we would like to hear from all of
next Monday.
I'm sorry, next Monday.
She's almost plugging, right?
A week from tonight. That's our last one. We're going to take a couple months off and plan and get some things worked out that we want to do, and maybe, I don't know.
We have to grow ourselves.
We have to grow ourselves so we can help you guys continue to grow.
Yeah.
But anyway, next week is a members meetup. And, if you can't come, go out and just look at that meetup and add a comment about things that you would love to learn about or that you were interested about. I saw somebody had commented that they wanted to know about pagan pasts, different pagan pasts.
Pagan pasts.
Yeah. Okay. So I went and looked that up and I found a quiz that you could take, like, what kind of pagan are you? I answered all these questions and it said I was Wiccan. I was like, liar, liar, pants on fire. I'm not Wiccan.
I mean, right. So Wiccan means that you subscribe to that religion. Remember, Wicca is a religion where we are solitary witches who follow nobody's rules but our own. So being a solitary witch just means you can pick and choose from whatever area that you like and focus on it for as long as you want. And there's not the rules associated with it. So I'm sorry that told you that you should be. It's probably because you picked a question or you answered a question like, I like structure. Because there you go. Follow the Wiccan path then, because they've structured it all out for people. Yeah.
Well, I was just looking at the notes too. Thank you for the compliments on the crowns. This is our master crown maker, Jamie.
I don't really wear a witch hat, like a pointy witch hat. That's not my thing. I feel like it's depressing. I know it can be fun for certain Halloween costumes, but for me, it's like that feels like a time in history where witches were, I don't know,
brutalized.
And it was like a symbol of a way to make fun of witches almost. It became something that's like comical. So I really engage in wearing floral head crowns or crystal crowns or any kind of crown because I'm a goddess and goddesses wear crowns.
There you go.
So that's what I think. That's my take on crowns versus pointy hats.
All right. And with that, I think we are going to get started.
Yeah. Okay. It is 6:04.
It's 6:04. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So what is this Litha Midsummer Festival? It's the celebration of our sun reaching the greatest height in the sky for the Northern Hemisphere. If you were in another part of the world, this would be would read differently. We are celebrating light, fire, and sun, and the bounty of the land.
Bounty.
This is the last celebration of nature's growth, of our growth and expansion. This is the last holiday before the hard work of the three harvests. So the next three holidays after this holiday are all about the harvest and working.
They're harvesting the hard work.
The main themes or the main focuses during this time are abundance, crops to share, fertility, marriage and children, prosperity, selling your crops and what you've made, success, your hard work in the spring is paid off and you can enjoy less work, and good fortune or health.
And good fortune is always considered that health aspect of summertime. So you're fortunate if you've had good health of crops, good health of your family. You know, there's been plenty of live births to keep the lines going. So
Where prosperity is
prosperity is the money that you can actually make. It's
Okay.
like, because then that's expansion for your land. You can buy more, do more once
Okay.
you have that resource.
So why do we celebrate this holiday? There are two solstices every year, summer and winter, or Litha and Yule. From Litha to Yule, this is the dark half of the year because our perspective of the sun is that it is waning, decreasing in intensity, or getting farther away from us, making our days shorter.
We're going to explain what the solstice really is, because in terms of celebrating the holiday, it's like the sun is getting further away, but we all know that the sun is not moving, we are moving. And so we are on an axis.
In case you forgot from
Yeah.
science.
So Jamie's quick science class in, earth sciences. The reason that we have the solstice is because our earth does not stand up straight. It's on a tilted axis. And as we wobble back and forth, that's what creates our seasons. So when we are fully leaned into the sun, that is our summer solstice. That is when where we are geographically at on the earth is closer to the sun than when we are leaned all the way back at Yule and we are farthest from the sun on our location on earth. So that's why I was explaining for each person, you'll be able to see when your actual solstice is, because it only lasts for 1 minute, you guys, like the actual event, 1 minute per area, and it just climbs like a ladder.
So one of the ways that you can become aware of this change is to look at the sunset and sunrise times every day.
Yes,
We
and you'll
start-
notice it.
We start losing
1 minute a day.
1 minute a day
Yeah.
after the summer solstice. I mean, I know we need the dark half, but I love the sun.
We got to have the reboot. So the dark half is always like go inside, reboot yourself, rest, recovery, then come out to bloom again.
Okay. How this holiday got its name. Litha, possibly Saxon word for moon or light. Old English word for mild or gentle. Made popular by Tolkien. I don't know how to say it.
The
Tolkien.
J.R.R. Tolkien books.
Yeah, from Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings guy.
That's where
Yeah.
the name was made popular. The modern wheel of the calendar was first proposed in the 1880s by Jacob Grimm and later brought to America in the 50s by Wiccan leader Gerald Gardner.
Yes.
Wiccans call the holidays Sabbaths. Non-Wiccan, solitary witches, or pagans call the 8 celebrations holidays, feast days, fire days, solar celebrations, etc.
So this is something that I want to help, especially new witches, understand that when you see things like the word Sabbath, that is a religious term for a day of rest. You do not have to call it that. You don't have to get comfortable with calling it that unless you follow it as a religious practice. So calling it a holiday, a festival, a celebration are all 100% acceptable. I get that question a lot, like what's the difference between, a Sabbath and a holiday, a festival, like why do I call it something different? And I call them holidays or celebrations because I am not Wiccan, so I do not follow the rules of Wicca. Or any rules. I'm not just kidding.
Remember, our current world is built off of those who came before us and our own imagination to change and grow how we see fit. This includes language, names, items of importance, etc. Give yourself the freedom to call this holiday what feels right to you.
Please do that.
We like Midsummer.
Midsummer is nice. It's easy.
June is the name for Juno, Roman goddess of women, childbirth, and marriage. Greek goddess Hera. Cancer season starts at Litha. It's emotional, nurturing, and highly intuitive period or sign. This is the 6th month, and 6 in numerology is the vibration of home, family, and service.
So I put this in the notes so that you guys could see all the connections around. We don't know what came first. Were we celebrating the solstice? Did we know about that before the zodiacs were ever created? We don't know what systems really came first, but as people were building the systems and recognizing patterns, they definitely lined things up with religions throughout the world, because it's not just practice in witchcraft or Wicca, it's people in India that see the same things. This was celebrated all throughout the world, the solstices. And so as we've built things like numerology and astrology, they've connected even the naming of our months to the time of year that most resonates with that god or goddess. So having Juno as the 6th month, which 6 in numerology is the family and home, and that's what she was the goddess over. And then having Midsummer, where like, this is the fertility, this is the love holiday, this is where you're getting out there and having the most fun. It's not one of the planting holidays or when you're working the field. This is really like, I'm in between hard work and hard work. Like, this is the biggest play holiday that you're going to find. So that's why I put all those references in there.
Okay, so ways of celebrating. You're doing great.
Oh, thank you.
She's doing great, right? Ways of celebrating. Create your own ways of doing things. Build off what others have done. Fires of any kind, candles, bonfires, hearth fires, stoves, and lots of cooking. Visiting important or sacred bodies of water, honoring sun gods, Ra from Egypt, Apollo, Greek, Lu.
Yeah, Lu, like Luna Sao.
Lu.
That's who Lu is from.
Oh,
yeah.
Lu, L-U-G-H. I was going to say bug. Irish, Belinos, Celtic.
The Celtic god of Belinos.
So
these are just some associations when you guys print the stuff out that you can have, that if you want to go outside of the common knowledge of Greek or Roman. There are lots of other deities that this holiday was like, this fits here. And this is why the history is around these stories of the summertime.
Okay. So this is a time for collecting herbs to use for magic later, connecting with the earth by getting in the dirt and growing things.
Get your hands dirty, guys.
Using natural elements to heal yourself, movement of all kinds, but especially singing and dancing, and celebrating your love of something.
So love of something. This is important because a lot of this, the holiday of Beltane, which we had May 1st, and then this holiday, are very much about the sex side, because we're in that procreation, fertility, like growing and seeding the earth, which is also seeding each other, if that's a way to say that, for sex.
Repopulating.
But it's keeping the line of things going. So even collection of seeds, I have marigold seeds that I've already been collecting, and technically that would be a harvest thing to do. But depending on where you live, each plant that you have, it might seed at a different time. Like my cilantro and basils are already seeding, whereas people up north, like in Massachusetts, maybe their stuff might not seed until the actual fall when we think it's supposed to turn to seed, So just, that's why I was saying, or why Kat was reading it for me, because I'm terrible about reading it off the paper. When we find a holiday, you're never going to find something that fits with where you live, like for every single thing. So make it your own. Even as the harvest holidays come around in Florida, it's very hard for us to grow things and then have harvest in the fall. Everything's dead. It's August. It's hot. Our soil is done. Our soil is more like winter in August. So for us, it's an adjustment of how we celebrate and what we have at our celebrations, because our growing season is just different. So if you find yourself in that same predicament, don't feel like it's wrong or clashing. Just embrace what you have around you that naturally occurs, and look at your cycle where you're at geographically. That's the best way to describe, like, make it your own practice.
Okay, things to do. Offer prayers, healings, inspiration, changes, and invitations to a blessed fire. Ritual baths for the same purpose, using a few herbs and candles. Leave offerings for the fae. Make a fairy garden. Bring in green to your space. Buy plants, propagate plants, share clippings, dance in the rain, sunbathe. Add a bird feeder to your yard. Make sun water. Make sun tea. Reflect over how you've grown yourself. Your practice since yourself and your practice since the winter solstice. Take a walk in nature and record the animals or insects you see and find their meaning.
So that's called an intuitive walk. Like, say you've got something on your mind and you just go for a random walk in nature, and the things that appear to you as symbols on your walk, a spider, a beetle, a butterfly, a bird, whatever it is, you can use those things to sort of like, oh, okay, well, what could that mean in my life in a deeper way? How can I find this as something that is actually like divination, where it appears in front of you as a sign because you took this walk and said, all right, whatever shows itself is now a message for me. What does the universe need to tell me? And let those things come into your path and just explore what they mean for you. You don't have to take it super seriously as some kind of omen. It doesn't need to be that big, but it can be something to help you reflect on, where am I at with my path, in my cycle of my life right now, in this cycle of the year, maybe even the month, if you run in shorter cycles, but just seeing how you're doing with getting out there. For fairy stuff, you guys, I don't know if anybody likes to shop at Dollar Tree. I know everything there is made from China. It annoys the crap out of me. But for quick fairy garden things, they do have like all kinds of little fairy garden little items, and it's just $1. This is like a little shoe house guy. Oh wait, he's the wrong way. There's his door. and I don't buy a lot of them. I'm not a stuff person, but I feel like I put these in potted plants in my house sometimes because I just think they add that magical whimsy that I like, that my mom inspires me to be more like. So I'm not so organized and, clean cut and all that. And then shopping at Goodwill, I've found little, I know it looks like it's supposed to be a birdhouse, but it's a fairy house of some kind that I will just stick out in my garden for aesthetic and to remind me that when I walk through this, that there's more things happening than I can see. The little stuff can get in there, live, reproduce, be safe from lizards or something. I have a lot of lizards in my yard. Okay, that was what I was going to say. Fairy
spells to do around this time: abundance, empowerment, energy. These are types of spells. Abundance, empowerment, energy, fertility, growth, health, increase, and love. Colors associated with the Midsummer Festival: gold, and I'll give you some examples of it. Gold, I'll just read it. Gold, gold, energy, power, prosperity, strength, success, and wisdom. Green, abundance, fertility, growth, new beginnings, prosperity. Do you want to say something?
Well, it's just when you're thinking about these colors and how to bring them in, this can be, because that's the only thing I didn't put on there. Like, all right, I gave you colors and associations, but do what with them? You can use just regular paper on your altar. You can put this out in your garden. You can make a craft out of this color. You can wear this color during the season as well. Because remember, our holidays aren't, the exact thing happens for a minute because it's astronomical, but the season of Midsummer is a month long. It started a couple weeks ago. It's going out a couple weeks, and then we'll be moving into our first harvest holiday.
You did mean astrological?
No, I read it. I know it's astronomy, but they said it's called an astronomical event. I was like, oh my gosh. I go back and forth between the two words because I think of astronomical as like something really
huge,
big.
Yeah, huge.
Well, maybe it is space moving around. It's an astronomical event to have the Earth tilting on an axis and none of us falling off. I don't know. So it's an event outside of the planet.
Okay. Yeah. I was just checking.
I know
it seems
weird to use it in that sense.
Yeah.
But I read it on NASA.
So gold, green, orange, red, white, and yellow. I won't go into all the descriptions because they're in the lesson plan. So I'll let you guys get that if you want to know specifically. But you can probably guess what they are. You've been here long enough.
Well,
most of you.
And I was going to say, I put colors in that associate with the spells that we listed. So we've got colors, herbs, animals, and what other reference? I think that's it. Okay. So using symbols of any of these when you want to do your spell work, or if you just want to decorate your altar or put a symbol out to just like, oh, it's this season, here's a symbol of what I'm looking for. The bull being power, a horse being stamina and sun. And so we're going to get to those, but that's how you would incorporate these, even if you don't want to do a spell, because you don't have to. It's not about the spell work. It's about remembering the importance of this time of the year. So if it's a color that helps you do that, an herb, it's a smell of an herb, having that around, and then animals, little statues and whatnot. So,
all right. Yeah. So herbs, cinnamon, mugwort, rosemary, St. John's wort, vervain, and yarrow. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Vervain.
So I'll tell you with mugwort, I think that's the herb that I've had the most people have success with. And it's really about dreaming. We didn't get into dreams yet. That was one of the colors, but dreaming is always a divination type thing. And if you burn mugwort, you guys, I'm telling you, it gives you some wild dreams, some things happen in your sleep. I don't know why. So you can burn it for dreaming or burn it for when you're meditating and you're looking for a sign or a message. That is something that I swear by now. I only started using it about 4 or 5 years ago because I couldn't get it before that. And now it's pretty widely available on the internet. And it's mugwort that's not the toxic kind. So there are 2 kinds, but it would be mugwort for like tea that you can just burn. And I love that stuff. I don't know. I feel like I want to hoard it, but that's unnecessary. Like I never want to run out of it.
All right. Because this holiday is about connecting with nature at its most heightened point in the year, this is a holiday to connect with magical creatures like fairies, dragons, sprites, etc. Many of these creatures are active because of the flowers, honey, nectar, and happy vibration of this time of year. No matter where you celebrate this holiday, summer usually brings about the same or similar plants and animals to use in your rituals or magical workings. Here's a list of associations: bees, abundance, messengers from spirit, new life, good health, sweetness. Use honey, beeswax candles, or plant flowers. Thank the bees for pollinating so plants will reproduce. Animals, bull for fertility, power, and strength. You can use a Taurus symbol on your altar or a bull statue. Butterflies. We put butterflies in our wreath. Butterflies are for rebirth, the soul, and change. Use silk or paper butterflies on your altar, or plant flowers that attract butterflies.
The planting of the flowers. This is definitely the season of flowers. So having flowers around, if you can, to help the pollinators survive, number one. So they got to do all this work. If you live somewhere where it's going to get cold, they have to do enough work right now so that they can move along or stay hibernated, like all the butterflies that need to make transitions and all of that. So help keep the cycle going by planting flowers.
Cows for abundance, mother goddess, and wealth. Use dairy products as offerings as part of your feast dinner or offer milk to the fae. Use cow statues on your altar. Hawks and eagles. These solar birds soar high like the sun and are symbols of power and strength. These birds served as messengers for Zeus, a symbol for Ra, and as a symbol of triumph over death.
Like the phoenix rising.
So
that's a good way to think about the eagle and the phoenix. They're both associated with Scorpio. And so it's like you rise from one level to the next. So the eagle can go so high, but then the eagle will die off and then the phoenix can rise higher. And so it's just getting a bird that can go, that can be part of your magical process and what you're really looking for.
And you can use found feathers.
Yes. Please don't buy feathers. Please don't buy them. But found feathers.
Or images or statues on your altar.
This is something everywhere I go, you guys, I look for feathers on the ground. I finally found my first crow feather, and I could confirm it was a crow feather because in Florida we have something called the fishing crow. It is a regular type of crow, but specifically fishes for stuff. And I think a more accurate name would more be like, thief or trash digger, but it's called the fishing crow. And they have a shorter, blunt tail than the regular crows. And I finally got a crow feather, which the crow
You were just looking for one.
I've always been looking for one. I know. I just got it.
Ask and you shall receive.
So we live in Florida and we have a lot of pelicans, and I have a beach that I go to that's not super populated, and I pick up pelican feathers all the time, especially right before mating season. So if you pay attention to what birds in your area are going from their winter time to their spring, where they need to shed and molt and become fluffier and prettier for mating season, they start pulling out all their old feathers and dropping them everywhere. So a good time to pick up feathers is in spring because they're shifting over and creating new plumage for their mating dances. So I have tons of pelican feathers. And I don't use them all, but I can't stop myself from picking them up. I just can't. I can't not do it.
I wouldn't be able to pass one.
I don't know. It's a beautiful feather.
A horse is a power of strength, and this is my last animal for.
We're almost done with the notes, which is great because it's dense.
Horse, power and strength, swiftness and virility.
I love this story. She's about to tell the story, you guys.
A symbol of the sun, the land, and freedom, evokes feelings of wilderness and joy. Ancient stories told of horses pulling the chariots of the sun across the sky.
All right. If anybody's seen, there's a movie, and I don't remember which one it is, but you can see, I think it's Zeus, and he's riding the chariot. It might not be Zeus, but he's riding a chariot, and the horses and him are pulling the sun across the sky and around the earth. And that is how they believe the earth, of course, rotated around the sun, right? I mean, the sun rotated around the earth. So I loved that horses were connected with, like, they were outside of the atmosphere or off the ground, you know? I mean, they didn't say Pegasus or unicorn. They were talking about just horses. Like, they could become mythical sky creatures that pull the sun across the sky. I just thought the story was beautiful. If you've ever read the full thing, it's just pretty neat. I like it. It doesn't end well. Somebody goes up there to try to kill Zeus and take over the sun and all of that darkness. And yeah, but it's a very pretty picture they paint of the story of horses pulling the sun across the sky.
So ancient sites associated with the solstice, Stonehenge, Mika Picchu.
No. Okay, I'm going to read these because I know she doesn't know these all the way. Thank you so much. All right. So I did want to talk about the fact that in celebrating this holiday, it's not just witches who do it. It's people all over the world. Because it's something that happens in the sky. It's not controlled by religion, like the dates of holidays, like Christian Christmas or whatever. This is a date that somebody picked that said, this is when we're going to celebrate. This is something happening in our natural world that nobody gets to control, but we all get to witness and decide how we celebrate it. So sites that have been built around the world, and I think the one that I have that's the oldest, of course, is 5,000 years ago. Stonehenge lines up with solstices and equinoxes, but specifically the summer solstice, people go there. Druids are still allowed onto the site to perform ceremonies. It takes a lot to become associated with that clan that's still allowed on the property because they just don't let anybody walk up there. Machu Picchu is the really high mountainous ancient alien site. If you guys ever watched Ancient Aliens, that's one of the things that they really talk about because they can't figure out how they built it. But that is in Peru and it's 500 years old. Then you've got Chichen Itza in Mexico. And it's 2,000 years old. And this is the one where you see, it's also very famous. There's a serpent along the side. And so when the sun rises and sets, it looks like the snake is crawling down or up the pyramid in Chichen Itza. Tank sees somebody. And then this one I did not know about. So we have two in the US that are really associated with solstices and that we could go see.
Yes, you guys.
Have a wonderful week, a wonderful midsummer tomorrow. Even if you just stop for a second and think about it, you don't be hard on yourself or too heavy, but have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you next Monday.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.